You know, when you hear of someone getting on stage and they say, this award hasn't been given to a Black person in 30 years,
Mhm.
like that's not to be celebrated.
I'm over here blinded by all this beautifulness, and I'm like, oh my God, this melanin goddess that's before me. On this episode of Another Act, I talk with hip hop legend MC Lyte about her acting career, her groundbreaking music career, and exactly what she has planned next. So it has been a while since we've seen you on our TV screens in a scripted series, in a, as a series regular, as a star. One of my favorite pandemic bitches was Half and Half. Why was now the right time for you to return to television in this way?
Oh goodness, I think that was just a toss of the cards how it actually happened. Bentley and I got together on this in 2018. So we have been working on it, and it just so happens that All Black came to the table last March, like right in the beginning of the pandemic. And it was great that it happened, but it wasn't really planned like, oh, this is the pandemic, what can we do? Outside of just wanting to be in a mode of creating.
Yeah. And let's acknowledge that this is the first time that you're going to star in a series. Are there any trepidations about doing that? Because that's new.
Yeah, it is new, huh? Well, I tell you what, if there were any trepidations, they should have taken place and been active way before now. Because once I was on the set, I was like, oh, wow. No, I think it was the first table read where I realized how much dialogue I actually had. And what I had to do, instead of just thinking of the dialogue, I just had to think of the story. Like, okay, what is the story? And usually my sentiment is the same. I'm the bossy one because I know what I'm doing. So I need everybody to follow me. And now, okay, what's my sentiment? Am I upset in this scene or am I? And then I just, once I have the sentiment, the words became easier and easier to memorize.
Yeah. And when you first, got together with your creating partner and figuring out what this series would look like, your intentions weren't to actually star in it, correct?
Right. No, it wasn't. I was thinking, who could we get to play the Lana role? And I was going to wind up just like half and half playing the record label executive.
Yeah.
And so we did a couple of casting sessions and we just, lots of great people, but not the flair that we were looking for this particular character. And I don't think they wanted to be too pushy, so they were allowing me the space. But in the end, they all said, "Thank God, we really wanted you to do it."
Because the way to really say that is only MC Light could play MC Light. Is that where you
Probably,
That's where you
probably.
guys landed. Well, let's stay there and talk about it because your show, it's a comedy about a hip hop star, and your character, as you mentioned earlier, also shares your real first name. With these parallels to your real life, how important was it for you to present a really authentic story?
Oh, it's very important because I know what I like to watch. I love sitcoms. I'll watch a sitcom all the way up until I'm too tired, and then I'll, turn it off. But they make me feel good. But more importantly, when there's an aspect of truth to it, that's what Growing Pains was. That's what the Damon Wayans show was, and the Cosby Show, and so many shows that we came to love had everything to do with the relationships that existed within and people feeling like, oh my God, that's my story. Or I have a family member that's just like that. Or, so I wanted to stay true in many ways. And I think we did a great job with it.
We, meaning you and I, did this event a little bit ago. And when I introduced you, I said something to you, the effect that you created music that really soundtracked so many of our lives. And one thing that I was left thinking about in the aftermath of that event was if you've been able to process, understand, and yes, accept the love and appreciation for your career. Have you been?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know, a few years ago, you would have asked me that. I would have been like, oh, yeah, sure. But I think I've had a lot of time to just really resonate in what it is that I've been blessed with and all of the opportunities, all of the great relationships, all of the people that I've come to love and know very well throughout this business. And just to see everyone climbing upward and seeing so much success and how people have found their way just with hip hop as somewhat of a stepping stone. Yeah, I'm very thankful.
I think one thing that's very true to your story is that you are the mother of reinvention. Even when you weren't making music the way that you were making it when you were younger, you were DJing. We hear your voice all the time. Even if people aren't aware that they're hearing your voice, they're hearing the voice of MC Lyte, and then also acting as well. Talk to me about that and how you've been able to sustain in that way, because unfortunately, as you know, far better than me, a lot of other MCs, and in particular female MCs that came out of that era of hip hop that you came out of, haven't been able to have that same lasting and staying power that you've been blessed with.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to do everything. And I think I was always pushed to do whatever it was that I was into. So with voiceover, I took classes, acting, I took classes, and I just wanted to prepare myself for the next moment. I think DJing, I did go take some classes, but I don't know that they necessarily helped because the truth is, being a great DJ, you need to practice. And quite frankly, I don't have the time to practice as much as I would if DJing were the only thing that I do. When I DJ, it's like, hey, listen to this playlist that I've curated for the evening, or something of that nature. But all of that to say, there are quite a few female rappers that have come out of the time that are still doing great things, and they're all using their voices. So I just think it's, what do you want to do? How do you want to serve and touch and inspire the people? And if you get yourself ready, God will do the rest.
I love that. At what point in your career were you thinking about how to find yourself in other opportunities? Because it feels like when I revisit your career that simultaneously you were making music and also trying to figure out other things. It didn't feel like music is stopping, and so now I want to figure out a pivot. Like, at what point and where
Yeah.
were you specifically when those things
Um,
started being figured out?
the move for me was in 1996. I had just opened a restaurant here in New York City in Harlem on 135th and Frederick Douglass called Harlem Dessert Cafe. And even though I had just opened it up, we had 10 feet of snow that happened in New York. And I was like, oh, hell no, I am not doing this. The year before, La was doing her show, Living Single, and she said, why don't you come out for a couple of weeks or whatever? And I was like, okay. And I was in California in January, and it was about 75, 80 degrees. And I vowed I would never do another winter in New York again. And so that move to LA is when I started acting classes, when I started voiceover classes, and it just catapulted me. But it wasn't easy. The record label was like, what are you doing? What are you doing in California? You need to be in New York on the city streets where people can see MC Lyte. And I just was like, no, I'm going to stay here in LA and I'm going to chase this dream.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. I was going to ask, when you first started out acting, and even now with this new series, was it challenging for people to stop seeing MC Lyte and to start seeing who you are as an actor? What was that like for you?
Absolutely. It's always something because when they see me, they see MC Lyte. It's like no way of getting around it until, there's a character that sort of meets me. So we kind of meet in this space where I can believe she's this character and not MC Lyte.
Well,
Yeah.
look, let's not ignore all of the great things that you've done over your music career, which spans 30 years. And, I love to remind people of this. You're the first female rapper to be nominated for a Grammy Award, the first rap artist to perform at Carnegie Hall and the first female artist to hold a gold single. When you look back, how do you feel to have made that kind of mark on the culture? What does that do for you?
Oh, goodness. Well, first, I'd like to say the first solo female artist to be
First solo,
Grammy nominated.
yes.
Right. Because Salt and
Specific,
Pepper
yes.
definitely
Yes.
was nominated prior to, and I look up to them so much. They know because I talk about them almost in every interview I've ever done. But it feels great to be able to blaze new trails and make a new way for somebody where it may be easier because I was able to do it. When you hear of someone getting on stage and they say, this award hasn't been given to a black person in 30 years.
Mhm.
Like that's not to be celebrated. Like
Mhm.
what the hell? So I kind of feel like there should be so many more women on the scene, so many opportunities given to women because, hip hop just would not be the same without the touch of a woman. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to have been able to be there at the time that I was and, leave the mark that I have. But if it doesn't help to further another young girl's dream, then it means nothing.
I love that. You recently celebrated a milestone birthday. Let's spin it forward because we've talked about some of these really amazing accomplishments that you've covered over the course of the first chunk of years. What do you want this next kind of iteration of your career to look like? Like what are some things that you would love to accomplish and to see to come to fruition?
Oh goodness. Well, I have a management and production company, and so we're looking forward to bringing forth new artists, new artistry. We're looking forward to bringing new productions to the table. We're in development with quite a few entities. I want to be able to do what Deborah Martin Chase does, or what Penny Marshall was able to do, what Drew Barrymore was able to do, what Reese Witherspoon is able to do, and Kerry Washington and Viola Davis, and that is act when you wanna and produce great content where you give opportunities to other people for them to show the talent that they have worked hard on or that was God given or a little bit of both. But just to be in the mix and be a via to bless others. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, I love all of that. To chat with me today, it is always great to
Thank
talk to
you.
you. I'm going to be listening to nothing but MC Lyte music for the next week because that's just
Oh,
what it is.
you're
So
the sweetest. Thank you.
thank you. Continued success.
I appreciate you.